Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm doing the quarter year crisis book tag. I have seen quite a few people do this book tag at this point. I had written down the questions. I was going to do it because I had seen Gloria Z. Thompson and Shelley Swearingen do it. But since I've seen them do it, I've seen a whole bunch of other people do it too before I got a chance to record this video. So that's fine. Many people have done this, but I really wanted to do it because I just think it's really fun. I've also recently recorded my quarterly favorites of the first quarter of 2022, but this is different because it's not only talking about favorites, it's also talking about things that you haven't loved, goals you're meeting, all that kind of stuff. It really encompasses a lot of things. So I am really excited to do this tag. First question is, how many books have you read so far this year? So I'm actually recording this in April, and at this point I have read 29 books. But I think at the end of March, I think it was 27. That actually makes me right on target to, read 100 books this year. The past couple of years, I've actually read closer to 200 books, but haven't actually hit the 200 mark. But I knew it was going to be less books this year because I'm just busier and I have more going on, and I've been reading some bigger books. So I knew that it would be far less, and I am very pleased with how many books that I've read so far. Question number 2 is, have you already found a book that you think might be a 2022 favorite? So I have a couple books that I've really loved, and I think might end up on favorite lists for the end of this year. 2 of them I read in January, one of those being Emily of Deep Valley from Mud Heart Lovelace. I read this with Kate Howe's Kindred Book Club in January, and I had picked it up at a thrift store and hadn't ever read it. And my goodness, it's so wonderful. It's got a nice cozy feel, but it also just examines lots of feelings of being left out and displacement and emotional things, and like coming into yourself, in addition to actually tackling topics like immigration and racism. And it feels like it was kind of written ahead of its time for those things, which I really enjoyed as well. Another favorite book was Flannery O'Connor's short story collection, Everything That Rises Must Converge. I actually did a video where I ranked all the short stories in that collection, and I will link that in case you haven't seen it, so you can watch that and you can kind of hear more of my thoughts on that book. But I really loved it. It was definitely a book where most of those stories really made me think very deeply, and so I enjoyed it for that. And then my favorite middle grade book that I've read so far, I think, is The Last Quintista, and I just recently did a reading vlog where I read that book over the course of a weekend, so I'll link that reading vlog so you can hear me talk about it. But it's a sci-fi, and I'm not a big sci-fi person, so I really enjoyed it though. It's really about the power of stories and individuality and why history matters, and how erasing history or erasing stories actually makes us kind of repeat history in a not good way. So I really enjoyed that one. So I think that's my favorite middle grade that I have read so far. Question number 3 is, any 1-star books or least favorite book of the year? I actually haven't had any 1-star books. I've had a few DNFs, but I don't usually give star ratings to DNFs because it just feels unfair. Unless there's something like really terrible in it, then I might, but I usually just don't even give a star rating to a DNF. So my lowest rated book so far of this year is one that I hardcore ranted about in my Goodreads review, and that's Where the Forest Meets the Stars. There was a lot of problems with this book, a lot. I did give it 2 stars because I liked the premise and I liked the beginning. And so I thought it seemed like it was going to be very promising, but unfortunately it took a really bad turn. And there was a lot of things that were just really not good. I'll link my Goodreads review in case you want to read it, but it's very spoilery, so you may not want to read it. Suffice it to say, the thing that I really hated about this book was its treatment of mental illness, particularly mental illness in a relationship. Because you've got 2 people in a relationship, one suffering from mental illness and one not, and the other person just doesn't understand mental illness and basically treats it as, you just need to get over this and get out there and it's going to be fine. And because it's supposed to be romantic, It is, but that would actually end up being really, really terrible in a relationship, to have someone who doesn't understand you and is forcing you to do things that are making things worse, because they would in real life. That's the thing I had the most problem with. But the whole book just unravels. It's really a shame because it had a really pretty cover and I was really hoping to love it. Question number 4 is, what is your most read genre so far? I'm not really sure. I should have examined this better. I was gonna say middle grade, but I can hear Krista from Books and Jams saying, that's not a genre, that's an age range. And it's true, but I have read more middle grade than anything else so far this year because I did just complete middle grade March, and then I read some middle grade in April after middle grade March was over, but I've read 13 middle grade so far this year, so that is a sizable chunk of the books that I've read so far. Question number 5 is a book that surprised you. So books can surprise you in good ways, in bad ways. I'm gonna go with one that surprised me in a good way. I'm gonna go with Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is book 2 of the Red Rising trilogy. I read Red Rising, the first book, in November, and while I really enjoyed the book a lot, there was a lot of things about it that drove me crazy, particularly with the writing style and some other issues. I did a vlog for that. I'll link that in case you want to watch it. And so I was going into Golden Sun. A lot of people have told me Golden Sun improved upon the things that I had issues with in Red Rising, but I was still kind of just like unsure going into it. Let me tell you, Golden Sun blew my socks off. Like, it's one of the best books that I've read this year also. I guess I could have put it for question number 2 because it's amazing. It's so good. So that is a book that really, I wasn't prepared to love it as much as I did. Question number 6 is a book that's already come out in 2022 that you want to read but haven't yet. So I have a couple of these. The first one is Omar Rising. I can't remember the author, but I'll have a picture of the book up and I'll have the author on it. It's the same author who wrote Amal Unbound, which is a middle grade about a girl growing up in the Middle East and she wants to be a teacher. And it's just like the upward battle that girls have with education, essentially, is really what the book is about. It was wonderful. Omar Rising is the sequel, and Omar is Amal's friend in the first book. And so I think in Amal Unbound, he like goes away to a special school or whatever. So I think that that's what Omar Rising is about. So I really want to read that book. I also would love to read The Maid, which is, I don't know if it's like a thriller mystery or if it's just a mystery, but I've heard really good things about it. And I'm really, really picky with modern mysteries and thrillers because they all kind of feel very similar. But Gloria Z. Thompson talked about how much she liked this book, and she is very picky with mysteries and thrillers as well. So I really trust her opinion when she says she likes a book. So that made me really, really want to pick that one up. And then the last one is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. And this is like a YA fantasy, I think, but it's very rooted in Asian mythology and it just looks so good. The cover is really beautiful. My friend Dia from Novel Idea really liked this book, but then I think I've heard a couple of people not love it as much. So I don't really know where I'm going to fall on it, but it just seems like a really good book. Question number 7 is one goal you made that you're succeeding at. So one of those things is reading nonfiction. I really wanted to read more nonfiction. I started getting more into it thanks to Nonfiction November last fall. I kind of had this idea in my head that nonfiction was dry and boring unless it was like I'd read like homeschooling or parenting books or spiritual nonfiction, but nothing else because I just felt like everything was just boring. And Nonfiction November showed me that is not the case. So that was really wonderful and it kind of like lit a fire under me to read more nonfiction. So I made a nonfiction TBR with 8 books on it. And I have so far read 3 nonfiction this year already. And I'm currently in the middle of 2 more. So I'm doing really well with that goal. The other goal that I'm doing really well with is my Read or Rib project, where I picked 24 books that I had been on my shelf for way too long. And I had to either read them by the end of the year, or if I don't get to them, I just have to get rid of them. So I'm doing really well on that challenge as well. I've been picking like 2 a month or so to get through. Actually didn't read some of them from last month because last month was just a little bit too crazy, but I've still read 5 of those books so far. So I'm really excited about my progress with that as well. Question number 8 is, what's one goal that you have made that you need to focus on? So I have 2 of these as well. The first one is that I said I was going to do better about not participating in as many read-alongs and buddy reads and kind of scale back, because when I participate in those, I feel more pressure to complete the books than if I'm just reading, like mood reading or whatever. January, I did okay with that. And February and March, I participated in multiple reading challenges in addition to multiple buddy reads. And it was just too much. So April, I have scaled back, and so far, it's pretty early into April when I'm recording this, not even halfway. April's better. And the next month that I have a reading challenge I'm planning to participate in is going to be July. So I'm just trying to take it easy with that, and that has been really good. But I need to continue to focus on that, not just have 1 month where I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good, and then just jump right back into it again. The other thing that shockingly I am not doing well with is my classics TBR. And I have read some classics this year, but only one of them has been on my list, and my list had 13 books on it, and I've only read 1, and that is not good. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's 2 now, because Lord of the Flies is on that list too. So in this month, I have read 1 more, but up until the end of the first quarter, War and Peace was the only one I had finished, which granted feels like it's like 4 books, but still, I have a lot of other really chunky books on there that I really need to get to. And the last question is, new to you, booktubers, booktalkers, or bookstagrammers for 2022 that you recommend? I have 3 that I'm going to recommend. So the first one is a brand new booktuber, and she's one of my favorite people, and that's Dia from Novel Idea. She only has a couple videos, and I shared her newbie book tag, and so hopefully a bunch of you saw that and went over and subscribed to her. But if you haven't already, please do. She reads a wide variety of books. We actually read the Red Rising trilogy together, but she really enjoys fantasy and sci-fi, probably the most, but she reads like literally everything. So she's wonderful. She's so sweet. I love hearing her thoughts about books. So she's amazing. A newer booktuber is Amy of Hearthridge. And oh my goodness, Amy is just the sweetest. She has like the coziest, chattiest videos, and I just love her. She's like really like sounds like so sweet and soft-spoken, and she always has so many cool books that are going on, and yeah, I just love Amy. Amy's so sweet. You should subscribe to her if you haven't already. And then the last new to me booktuber I actually found through Amanda at the Curly Reader. She did like a recommendations video, and Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails was on that list, and I love Katie. Katie reads a lot of books. She reads a lot of middle grade and Christian fiction, but that's not all that she reads. But those are a lot of what she's been reading lately anyway, although middle grade March is probably part of the reason for that. But I just love Katie. She's so sweet, and she loves Disney stuff. She just semi-recently did like a tour of like redoing her bookshelves, and she has the cutest like vintage Disney stuff on her shelves. So I love Disney stuff, and so I love all of her Disney stuff that's on her shelves. She did a video recently where she had the absolute cutest Winnie the Pooh mug, so I always love looking. It's almost like looking for like Disney Easter eggs in her video, but not really, because it's like behind her on her bookshelf or whatever. But I love all her Disney stuff too. Well, those are all the questions for the Quarter Year Crisis book tag. Would love to hear from you in the comments down below if you have like some favorite books, least favorite books, some goals that you're killing or not. And if you have done this video, if you have a booktube channel and you have done it, please link your video down below so I can watch it. And if you haven't done it yet, consider yourself tagged. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me. And I will see you again next time.